I'm Coach Thomas Scott, and if you're listening or watching this podcast, it means one thing. You want to learn how to get buckets from the best in the world. This is the Hoopers Podcast. This is Buckets and Breakdowns.
Welcome to another episode, a very special episode of Buckets and Breakdowns. I mean, I got a legend here, fan favorite. This guy's known me since I've been a little kid, man. And I saw him and thought I had a chance when I was a kid to play in the NBA. Standing at 5'3", the legend, Muggsy Bogues. Yes, sir. Thank you for coming and joining us on this show.
Oh, it's my pleasure, brother. It's my pleasure, man. I'm proud of you. You know, it's a journey. You know, it's a journey to have this platform that you're on, and I'm honored to be here with you and chit-chat and talk about some of the good things that happen in my life as well as in yours.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. The good folks at Ballislife have provided me the platform, and I've always seen myself as lucky, blessed, fortunate to be a kid that loved the game, was exposed to the game very young, but then got the chances to be around guys like yourself, ask you guys questions, get in your way. And and I just want to share like these kind of conversations I'm able to have with the world and inspire the next generation of athletes, coaches, parents, anybody that just loves the game of basketball. So thank you for your time again.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, that's good. I mean, because we got to use our platform. I mean, that's what we have to do, especially once we get to a position where we, you know, our voice matters and it reaches, you know, an audience that can, you know, properly inspire and hopefully, you know, some kind of inspiration to become who they want to become. And as you know, as you say, during your journey, and now here it is, you know, on the other side, you know, on the analyst and talking about, you know, different topics of, you know, social issues as well as basketball issues and you know, what's going on in life. You know, that's just how, you know, life evolves. And I'm just, again, you know, seeing you and watching this and, you know, knowing what your pops has meant in terms of raising his kids, man, this is a joy. So, you know, I'm happy to be here to talk about some little basketball, whatever you want to share with.
Yes, sir. Well, I kind of want to start from the beginning, man, and kind of work through your journey. You've been such an inspiration to all of us. And I want to start from, you know, when you first started realizing you can get buckets, man. What was that like? How did you know you had the confidence to play this game?
Well, you know, as a kid growing up in the city of Baltimore, you know, every kid out there wanted to play basketball, it seemed though. So, you know, me being small, I wanted to join that crew too. I wanted to be part of it. And because of your size, you know, you get criticized and you get talked about and all the jokes came with it. And it was tough early on. But, you know, as you learn the game, as you get more skillful at the game, and you're able to now take your frustration out on the court with your skill set, you know, that allowed me to, you know, climb the ladders, you know, and I felt like in my mindset was if I play against the best, if I had success against the best, you know, I need to be included with the best. So having that understanding of the game and each level as a kid, you know, and but I really was thankful for the gentleman in our neighborhood by the man named Leon Howard, who kind of taught me and Reggie Williams, you know, Reggie Williams, who was fortunate enough to make it in the NBA as well. You know, we both was tuteled by him, and by him giving it that information, him being tall and I'm being small, but it still resonated and related to the game. We understood the game, and that really allowed us to propel and kind of really, you know, excel in the game of basketball.
Yeah, man. We all have had that person that kind of sees something in us and gives us that motivation. But is there somebody that you saw, like when you were watching the game, like I watched a guy like yourself that was like, man, if I can do what he can do, man, I can make it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, a lot of people was talking about, well, you need to watch a guy named Tiny Archibald. And when I looked at Tiny Archibald, Tiny was 6'1". So he wasn't too tiny to me. So, my vision had to go elsewhere. And of course, I heard about Charlie Chris and Calvin Murphy, those guys. But I had a guy right in my neighborhood. His name was Dwayne Wood. And I think Cole would have been, I think he would have been able to go in and make it to the NBA if he would have chose to go to Georgia as opposed to Virginia State. But that's here and there. But he was small. He was diminutive, and the way he played the game and how he approached the game, it was something that kind of similar to how I like playing. And he was very aggressive offensively, defensively, and the way he stole the basketball. And I kind of took a little bit of stuff that he had and applied it to my game. And I became that guy, that pest, that guy that nobody wanted to dribble the ball around. Guy that pushing the ball down your throat, no knowing no telling what he's going to do with the ball, score or dish it off to his teammates. So having that understanding as a youngster, man, that really slowed the game down for me and allowed me knowing that I can make other guys better as well as make other guys better as well as myself.
Yeah, man. It's so awesome just thinking back on memories, watching some of your highlights and stuff, man. You used to steal the ball from guys that ain't even know they didn't even have the ball anymore. They tried to do that spin move on you. It was a wrap. I remember, you matching up with Magic back in the days, man. It was so inspiring, man. Like, obviously, I grew up a Laker fan, but I was still, rooting for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
How'd you pick up that knack of timing to steal the ball from guys?
Well, that was something instinctively, something that, being close to the ball and understanding what that ball and how guys dribble. One thing about dribble and dribbling, guys don't change their tendencies. Pretty much have the same tendency, whichever way, how they like to come up the court, if they want to try to react a certain way. And I kind of studied and understood your tendencies. And that was something, and the timing of it as well. You can't, once the ball goes down, you can't stop it from going down. So having that understanding when to shoot the gap, when that ball goes down, it gives you, that advantage, I'll say for myself in terms of being right there where that ball is. And, and for me, everything you had to do had to be, looked at as how you can gain some sort of advantage, because of the height disparity. But for me, I never looked at it that way. I looked at it as the strength and the skill set that I had. So I always kind of focusing, kind of more geared towards that allowed me to play the game to the highest level.
Yeah, man. Like even me, right? Like I feel like the smaller guys have a major advantage. A lot of people look at the disadvantages, especially personnel, making decisions on who belongs on the team, on a roster. And stuff like that. I spent some times in the G League, and there was guys that can really hoop, but in the management's eyes, maybe they were undersized. But the advantages you have is you can push the ball, you can get into gaps that people can't get into, and you're able to find people. So I always look at the positives of somebody that has the speed that you have. But like when I look at your physical stature, man, you had these trunks, man, like and then back in the day the shorts was a lot smaller. What kind of stuff were you doing to, even though you had the speed, the quickness, but to even improve it and then sustain your strength? Obviously people try to get physical with you, but how were you able to maximize your body and your strength?
Well, lucky for me, it was genetic. I wasn't a guy that lift weights early on in my career as a kid. I played multiple sports. I played baseball. I wrestled. Wrestle was a big another passion that I had in playing growing up. I played football, but I always had that thick structure, and then they mainly came from, I guess, just being athletic. And as I got in high school, that never changed. Even though my coach Wade, he was able to implement the bricks and the sandbags on your back, where that kind of served as, I guess, weights and that sort of thing, and that kind of helped you get stronger, your grip as well as your lower body. But other than that, that was just genetics for me. Again, in the game, you're saying advantage and disadvantage. It's all about the skill set. The guys that undersized. We just have skill sets that understand how to play. We just know how to play the game and know how to crowd space. We know how to, play a bigger, taller guy to where he's not taking advantage of, that height. So, it's all about the skill set what a guy brings to the table, because we have a lot of short guys who, is not as skillful, but a lot of short guys that are very skillful. So it goes hand in hand, just like you got tall guys who are not as skillful just because, they're tall, and you got some skillful tall guys as well.
For sure. For
That's the
sure.
game. Yeah, that's the game of basketball.
So, your younger years, you playing, you working yourself within the ranks. You started to mention high school. Can you give us a little bit of light of your high school years, man? Because I watched the documentary of your team and where you came from. Man, you guys had squad, man.
Yeah. We had a crew. We had a crew. We had myself, Reggie Williams,
Hmm.
who also got drafted number 4 in the NBA in 1987. Then we had the late Reggie Lawrence, may rest in peace.
Hmm.
Reggie got drafted with Boston. Then, of course, we had David Wingate, who was already in the league with Philadelphia 76ers. So, we made history in 1987. The three of us been able to get drafted in 87. That was the first time any time 3 players came out the same high school winning the
Awesome.
same draft. But not only just the our starters and Reggie Lewis, he came off the bench that year.
Mm.
He was a guy that he was a sixth man, and we had guys that who was like who was the second unit with Division One players. Guys
Mm.
that all went to Division One schools, so we had some talented players, guys that played in some very great universities: Syracuse, UNLV, South Carolina,
Hmm.
Miami, and you go on. The guys was fortunate enough to, challenge us every day in practice, because we always said we had the number 1 team in the country, but we had the number 2 team as well, because
Mm.
our guys was that good.
Awesome, man. That's a bar right there. That's
Yeah.
major. So, your high school years, they take you to Wake Forest. Uh, Talk about that whole process of even, you know, being a high school player. You have success. Now you got the recruitment process. Was that a struggle for you to, get a scholarship, or did it?
Well,
I'm
it
sorry.
was well, no, struggle to get a scholarship. It wasn't. We was the number 1 team in the nation, and we was highly sought after. I should say we had the number 1 player in the country, which was Reggie Williams,
Hmm.
and so we had all sorts of schools that was knocking on your door. For me, it was Virginia, Seton Hall. Maryland was a non-official, but I wasn't really interested in going to Maryland, even though that was something that down the street from us. Uh, Teams, Boston University. For me, it was came down between Seton Hall, Big East, ACC, um, and it was a no-brainer. Wake Forest was the best situation for myself. It was a really tough conference during the time. I felt like it was the best conference in the country, playing against the likes of the Michael Jordans and the Kenny Smiths and Spud Webbs and Mark
Awesome.
Price, and you keep going down the line, the late Lenny Bias. So it was a tough conference. And I felt like my mom and them could just turn the TV on every Saturday and watch their baby play, because they couldn't afford to be traveling and going to games. So that was a comfort. But in the school within itself in Wake Forest, it was a challenge. I knew on and off the court that it would make me into the man that I wanted to be. And I'm so thankful that I made that decision.
That's awesome. What is your best memory playing in college in Wake Forest? A game or a matchup, or what's your best memory from playing college?
Yeah, it's several of them, and especially my first year. We made it to the Elite Eight. We
Mm.
lost to the Five Slammer Jammers.
Oh, Clyde and them.
Yeah. We lost to the Five Slammer Jammers and the King. Actually, Clyde was gone.
Oh, he was
The
gone.
King was
Okay.
there. Yeah, Clyde was he was just there, and it was right there. And we did. We hung in there. We was there. We had the game won right then and there. But unfortunately, right at the end, the King got some uncontested dunks, and they wound up winning by like 5 or 6 points. I was a freshman year. I only played a few minutes. I got in. I was pissed off too, because I thought I should have played more. But that was a good memory. But then, of course, all the times that were, your senior year, you possibly almost been the player of the year between you and Horace Grant, but they wound up getting it to Horace.
Yeah.
But leaving, my senior day, I had my mom in this audience, my sister, my brother, and you play in state, you put up 29 points, and you just having a great game. You get your jersey retired. So that was a special moment that you'll never forget once you leave Wake Forest. Plus, I left, the lead, the all-time leading assistant step. So
Man,
that
that's
was a
awesome.
great
That's
moment.
awesome. And, my man Chris Paul went there as well. So, you know what he's doing with the steals and assists in the NBA. There's
Absolutely.
something that Wake Forest looks for in a point guard right there. Um, now let's talk about the dream, getting to the NBA. You got a shot now. You're being talked about. How are you able to handle that in between college to NBA process in the draft?
Well, this was the moment, after college. I mean, here it is. You're coming up representing the USA in the gold medal game where we was able to go there and win the gold. Myself, David Robson, and that crew.
Oh
And
yeah, how did
yeah,
I miss
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. But that was the last time a collegiate team won the gold medal. We
Oh,
beat Sabonis and the Russian team in the final. But then that will put me on that stage, and I think that's
okay,
what gave the NBA guys the true essence of this guy is can be really play on that next level. And then here that moment, the day we got drafted was he like I said myself, Reggie and Reg, the two Reggies I should say,
hmm
we all in New York waiting to hear our name called. I mean, when you heard your name called, the weight of the world was lifted off your shoulders, and that's when you felt like, hey, you made it. You got an opportunity to go up there and shake the commissioner hand and put your head on, just like all the other guys now do it. And, I felt like I was representing all the short guys who didn't get that opportunity to go and shake commissioner hand. So it was a good moment, and again, changed the narrative of my entire family that day.
awesome, man. So you drafted to Charlotte, go to Charlotte,
Washington Bullets.
Washington Bullets. Okay, so you were
Michigan
there.
Washington Bullets.
Yeah, yeah. So you there the same? Did you guys get drafted together? You and Manute Bol?
No, Manute was already there.
Okay.
He was there. He was already there, and Moses Malone was there. Actually, those are my guys, and may they both rest in peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mo took me under his wing, and he kind of showed me the ropes of the do's and the don'ts of the NBA and how to survive in the NBA. So I was so thankful for him, and we had so much fun. I mean, he was a treat. I mean,
Yeah.
we just and watching his son Bo play, man, I'm
Hey,
just
I'm
really
a big
enjoying it.
fan of Bobo.
Yes, yes,
I'm
yeah.
such a big fan of Bobo. I got a chance to see him through high school as I was in LA, and Sharif
Mm-hmm.
O'Neal. They played together at Cal Supreme, and I saw him. I was like, "Oh, this dude is going to be amazing."
Yeah.
So skilled. I just want them to just let him go. I mean, there's so much talent in Denver right now, but oh man, I love his game. I wanted to bring up that we talk about Manute, rest in peace. Another guy that was awesome to see play and was very skillful. There was that iconic picture of you and Manute, kind of like the shortest
In the
guy
blue
and the
ball.
tallest guy. That was so awesome for me to see as a kid, man. Can you
Yeah.
go into you guys' relationship and kind of playing chemistry as well?
Yeah. Nick was like I said, he was a brother. He was a really brother. Great guy to play with. A joy to be around. I mean, he was so funny. I always talked about how he killed the line with a spear. And he like, come on, you killed the line with a spear. What kind of lines you had? But he loved telling that story, and it was just a joy to be around. He and I always played one on one. I remember we played one on one
Oh, that's
in
awesome.
practice. Yeah, we played one on one in practice. And Manute had this little shot where he had to put it behind his head before he released it. And I had a little 44-inch vertical at the time.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! 44 is vert.
Yeah.
Woo!
So I could get up a little bit, and I went and blocked the shot. Oh man, he chased me around the entire gym for about 15 minutes before second. And Mo was on the floor just dying laughing. But that's the guy. That's the type of guy he was. And I mean, of course, everybody got a big a big chuckle out of us going through the airport because back then we don't have our private planes.
Right,
We
right.
flew commercial, and the way you had to get a first class seat, it went by seniorities. And Manute and I was the youngest, so of course we didn't get first class seat because it was only 8 of them. We in the back, his knees all up to his chest,
Oh my
so
goodness.
yeah. But then of course, even though he in the exit row, he still got them long legs where his ain't as much room because sometimes the extra row is not as
Yeah,
it had that much spacious. But yeah, he
man.
had a treat, man. I miss him so dearly. He was a great guy to be around.
Awesome, man. So,
Yeah,
um, I can't lie. I wanna talk about your Charlotte days, man.
yeah.
You know, you had a unbelievable team, man, and it's so much fun. I play NBA 2K, and they bring up the old school team. I play with your squad. Talk about those days in Charlotte, man. I know they still love you, and you're still heavily around in the community out there. Um, Tell us about those days, your playing days in Charlotte.
Oh yeah, that was the days where it all be I don't want to say it all began, but that's where the joy started.
Mm,
Coming to Charlotte after leaving Washington, coming to Charlotte, even though it was an expansion team at the beginning, but then starting to acquire some really good players and the Larry Johnsons, Alonzo Mourning, we had Rex Chapman at the
mm-hmm,
time, JLV, early on, and then we went through that stage, and then we got players again, like I said, Larry Johnson, Alonzo Mourning, uh,
favorite,
Kendall
man, mama.
Gill, yeah, Kendall Gill, and of course, we had Dell already there,
Mm-hmm,
Kenny Gaddis, and we started just acquiring players, and Johnny Newman. We became that fun, exciting team. The colors of our uniform, teal and purple, with the pleated uniforms,
mm-hmm,
pleated pants. So then we had some guys that have a little character, a little charisma about themselves. And LJ putting on the dress, becoming Grandma Ma, and Zoe within his physique, and relentless self within himself. And
mm-hmm,
then myself, a charismatic, and Del Curry and Kendall Gill. So we became a fun team back in the
mm-hmm,
'90s, and we was winning.
mm-hmm.
And that helped a lot. And unfortunately, again, injuries come into play. Guys decide they want to go elsewhere because of negotiation, but that's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
We just didn't stay together long enough to see what we really could have done.
Yeah, man, that
Yeah.
chemistry was awesome. Like Larry Johnson was one of my favorite players. As well as I love the jerseys you mentioned. You guys had your own swag, and if you look at Charlotte right now, you could just tell like they're just having fun, similar to where the way you guys were playing. And it's fun to see when young guys are able to kind of rock out and just have fun with it. Have you been able to kind of see some of those games and see LaMelo and Miles Bridges? Those dunks he's got going on, man, are incredible. Really reminds me of you guys. What are your thoughts on the team now?
I'm so proud. It's electrifying again around here in the area.
Hmm.
I'm serve as an ambassador for the Hornets
Okay.
still, and being able to see this team with the addition of Melo, it's really brought back a lot of excitement to the city, and I think it's been well deserved. It's been a long time overdue. The guys are really gelling, as you mentioned. The core is really starting to still feel for one another. They're sharing the basketball. And I think the really addition with Haywood coming on board, a veteran,
Hmm.
understanding how to still create his opportunities and not overshadow the young guys' growth. And I
Hmm.
think that really was benefited the team along having relations already, having familiarity with Terry Rozier.
Hmm.
So I think that chemistry kind of sped up itself. And the young fella, I think he really made the difference, in LaMelo Ball. People say how young he was, but being playing overseas, being a pass point guard first type of guy, I
Hmm.
think the game has already slowed down, and he understood, you know, the pace and the tempo of the game. And he came in and really, elevated and made guys around him better, and then start gaining more confidence and realize, I can score as well. And he put the team in a really good situation. And unfortunately, he got hurt right now. Could be possibly out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, he's gonna make a strong comeback, man.
Right.
We rooting for you, pulling for you, LaMelo, man. We love to see you play. Another young guy I saw through high school all the way up. Um,
Absolutely.
Also, Jordan is he's the president, owner, he's everything, right? So obviously, you guys had some history, you guys had some battles, man. Can you share, a little bit of some of that insight? You guys coming in from college, and then now you playing against each other in the pros. Talk
Well,
about that.
well, MJ, in college, it was only 1 year we got a chance to play against each other. Of course, he was Michael Jordan, just Michael Jordan, striving to be that MJ guy.
Hmm.
But you saw the skill set. You saw him, being able to be that polished guy to where once he got to that next level, to where the court was open a lot more. He had a lot more space, and then he could showcase, the type of, one-on-one ability that he had. And so it wasn't a surprise to us.
Hmm.
And then playing against him in the league, I mean, of course, we all know what happened. I mean, in terms of once we know where the ball is going, we all know where it's going, and just trying to stop him. It's hard to stop him. Lucky for me, I didn't have to because I played the point and he played the two. So that was more or less for your daddy and them had to try to guard him and everything. So that was something that I ain't had to deal with on a day-to-day
Yes,
basis when
sir.
we played against the Bulls.
So who is the matchup? Obviously Spud Webb is another one of those guys. Is an OG to me. I'd love to have on the show. Talk about that matchup. You guys going at it in your day.
It's always fun to play against Spud. And like I said, man, Spud played against each other in college. He was at NC State. I was at Wade. Kids, of course, when you're two small guys, they're going to kind of compare. But we was totally different. We totally had totally different games. We brought totally different skill sets to the game, and we impacted in our own way. And that's that's why my guy to this day always, because the way he was able to continue to show his way of how to impact the game and style it in the manner he did it. And then we always had those good little friendly battles. I know wherever he played in Sacramento, Atlanta, especially when he was there with Nick and that's where they had a lot of big time guys that had some. I mean, Mike Fratelli had them boys playing, and so had a lot of good battles with Charlotte and Atlanta. So it was always fun. We had some tough guards back then. Mark Price, to Isaiah Thomas, you mentioned Magic,
Yeah.
and from the Gary Payton to Tim Hardaway, Vern Fleming, Fat Lever, Michael Adams. I mean, I could
Ooh, Michael
keep
Adams
going down.
throwback.
Terry Porter, Mark Jackson, Kenny Smith. I mean, Mookie Blaylock. I mean, I could keep on going on. So many guys that played in the league. Eric Murdoch. I mean, so many guys. Steve Coulter. Yeah.
So
Yeah, a lot of guys.
So which one would you say was your toughest matchup, man? Because you're right, like that day reminds me of this day. The point guard is just no breaks.
Yeah.
Talk about your toughest matchup.
Well, for me, I don't say any one of them was the toughest matchup because for me, I was the guy that's totally different from them all.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the small guy where they had to try to, people thought they try to post me up was an advantage, but for me, it never bothered me because I understood the game and understood that guys who played that position wasn't familiar playing with their back towards the basket. And if, guys, teams that tried that for 2 or 3 possession, it kind of take away from the guys who really got that ball down in the post because that's the way our game was played back then.
Right.
It starts in that post and you're going to throw it into the big guys and so forth. So for me, but you had talking, Magic because of the height and that sort of thing, they would say, but from, and you would say a guy like Penny Hardaway, guys like that, what they would say, well, but I didn't look at it like that.
Yeah, man, but they had to guard you too. Like I don't want to discredit your game in no way because they had to guard you too, and I know it was the problem. I remember, if you came off a pick and roll, if you coming downhill, they got to deal with that. So yeah, man, like I also just with the game and your size and your quickness and how you're able to get to the basket, because even with this show called Buckets and Breakdowns, like how were you able to figure out your angles and the correct space and the glass to finish around the rim with a lot of those big guys trying to block everything? And then also, how were you able to, keep your composure when you got your shot blocked?
Well, believe it or not, I didn't get it blocked much, so that was a good
Really?
thing for me. Yeah. I didn't get my shot blocked much at all. So I may got a block here and there, but not much.
Hmm.
For me, it's all about timing. It's all about timing. And back then, out paint, as you would call it, the inside
Hmm.
was stagnant. It was where you couldn't, these big guys were just camped in the middle. You ain't had that
3 seconds.
space where 2 to 3 seconds, until the latter part of
Uh,
the year. So everybody was pretty much there, and you had to penetrate, and find those angles and get that float up and
hmm
get to the basket and that sort of thing. So you didn't get that shot block. So
mm.
it was all for me. It was all about timing. Just knowing how to release it and get it over the big fella's fingertips.
What would you say was like a go-to move that you had and a counter that you would go to that people couldn't just stop?
Well, for me, it's just speed. The
Hmm.
quickness. Being able to change direction either given way. Keeping guys on their heels. Quickness was the thing. It wasn't any one move. It was more. It all depends on how your feet is playing defense, and one little hesitation will react, and you can count off to that because any little movement it gives the defense a reaction because they don't know what you're gonna do. You know what you're gonna do.
Right,
And that's
right.
always been something I always kind of focus on.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Now, I wanted to also talk about you. You mentioned you played with Dale Curry, and obviously Steph Curry is doing some amazing things. Continues to me, I think he's gonna go down as the greatest shooter of all time. Do you have any memories of seeing a young Steph Curry and his dad in those days? And did you expect him to be the Steph Curry we know today?
Yeah, well, Dale and I played 11 years together. So 9 in Charlotte, 2 in Toronto.
Hmm.
Steph and my son, they was in the gym. They were gym rats. They just hanging around, and I think they got a little something on internet where they show me giving him a little plane ride in the locker room
Hmm.
and everything. That's how much he's been around that game. He's been just like a little sponge, soaking up information, man. Nobody knew what he was going to be. No one thought that he'd turn out to be the player that he is today. But you credit that with his journey, with his understanding and his willingness to want to be the player, and understanding how to get better. How to, because he's seen players of all statures. Myself, a small player, overcome. His dad, overcome everybody. So that was something that he fueled from and he understood. So it was just a matter of him getting an opportunity. And once he got that opportunity, even though Virginia Tech turned him down, and he decided to put Davidson and go to Davidson, put them on the map. Then that's where the everybody in the nation knew what type of skill this kid had. And again, once he got to the lead, and that wasn't it because he continued to develop. And I think I credit Mark Jackson being at the right place at the right time with the right coach, allowing him to understand the game and get some kind of answer. Because Mark has some familiarity with Steph, when we was in Toronto.
Hmm.
So Steph trusted him enough to where, he believed in him. And like I said, the rest is history.
Shout out to Mark Jackson. I need to say this because I remember an interview. Uh, he told the world, "I have two of the best shooters in the world, like I've ever seen," and everybody thought it was a joke. And he's like, "I'm completely serious. I played with Chris Mullin. I played with Reggie Miller, and what these two guys are doing, those two guys couldn't match them shooting." So I just want to shout out to Mark because he was also a pivotal guy in my life early on as my dad played with him with the Indiana Pacers, and I love his game as well. I got to get you on the show, Mark, and get some time. Uh, but yeah, man. So that's awesome. That's awesome, and I can relate to that. Growing up around the league myself.
Yeah.
So I also with this show, like I said, we talking about buckets, we talking about breakdowns. Is there anything that you see in the league today, right? That the game evolves that you wish you could have put in your game or was able to do more that they're able to do more so now?
Put in my game. Well, I'm just enjoying the game where it is today. Our game was totally different. People always actually, they always say that the older guys are hating on the game, hating on the younger players. But no, I don't think so. It's just more the game is different, and I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was more of a, back in the day, it was a physical game. It was more about defense,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of not allowing guys to, get to point A to point B, and any means necessary within the rules. You try to stop them. Now that it's flowing free basketball because of the skill set and because of the entertainment and people want to see scoring.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see buckets. And that's what they want to see. And guys in this generation, younger guys, that's what they practice. You got now guys shooting from the half court, in which is not a bad shot anymore. That's within their range. And you got 7 footers facing the court, bringing it up. We had 7 footers playing their back towards the basket. So it's nothing that you wish you had or wish you didn't. It's just the timing. And for me, I always you look at life in that regards, and that's how I evaluate it. And I like to say I enjoy it. I enjoy where the game is today, and with these kids that guys bring to the table.
That's awesome. Now, as being a fan of the game still to this day, is there anybody that you've seen since you retired, or anybody that maybe reminds you of yourself, that you see a little bit of yourself, or maybe, oh man, I used to do that? Like,
Well, unfortunately for me, there's nobody out there that's small, that play the game the way I play it. And, but, Patrick Beverly tries to play a little 94 feet. He tried to push up and, get up under your skin and that sort of thing and kind of, but I was more or less the guy that I irritate you, but it was in a more of a humbling and a good way where they were just like, damn, she's a pest, so that sort of guy. But guys, today, I guess you can't get as physical as you want. You once did, and because I guess they want to see the offense have a little more freeway or leadway, I should say.
yeah, awesome, man.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna hold you too much. I also just want to, leave some people with some advice. Is you see a lot of young guys, young point guards, and different things along the way, and that want to make it, and in the same type of stature that you have. Do you have any advice for some guards along their journey that may be facing the same adversity that you had along the way?
For one, don't give up. You believe in yourself, and because that's where it all starts. And take it out on the court. We got to play the game a little different than others. The 6 foot, the bigger, taller guys play. We can't play the game the way they play. I always try to tell the smaller guys in a sense that where we got to change it in a way where we impact it more so on the defensive end. And then once we get that thing offensively, we put so much pressure, penetrate, make guys run out better, being able to run our team, in that regards. At the same time, keeping us on the floor, because that's the most important thing, being able to be on the floor and having that understanding, that you do belong. Because when you're small, you feel like you got to go out there and score 30 points just to feel like you belong. That ain't so much the case. It's just as long as you understand the game and you're running your team, you're extension of your coach, you're making guys better. You're keeping the offense and your defense at a tempo to where you understand what it is. And it ain't just it's just not a point guard situation. You could be an undersized player, and just having that same understanding, but you got to work on the skill set and knowing what position that you're playing and how to operate. Because today's game right now, it's not even about positions. It's
Mhm.
about what type of skill set you bring to the table because you're playing small ball these days. But it comes mostly down to yourself, having the confidence within you, not letting anybody take away your passion or your joy by telling you something that's negatively and what they think of you because no one can be an expert on your life. No one know your potential, know your capabilities, or how big your heart is besides yourself.
And that's awesome. And like once again, I just appreciate you taking the time, and I want to continue to stay in touch with you, Muggs.
Absolutely.
I work with a lot of young kids, and also their parents and different things. Trying to get their kids to the next level, and I appreciate you shedding all of your wisdom with us. And this helps me help them, and
Absolutely.
anybody else that taps into this podcast. Shout out to Ballislife, the good folks over there. We're going to sign out right here. I'm your host, Coach Thomas Scott, the legend, Mr. Muggsy Bogues. We appreciate your time, man. Thank you. Go ahead. My bad.
I appreciate you, boy. No, my bad. This is your show. I appreciate you,
man.
For having me on, baby. I appreciate you for having me on. I'm so proud of you, man. You're doing your thing. And again, to you and your family, and your loved ones, man, all the success and much blessings to you. Tell your pops, I'll be hollering out to him, and we definitely gonna stay in touch.
Yeah, for sure. We gotta link up in those Bahamas again, man.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, we going over in July.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there. I'll see you there. All right, y'all. Y'all stay up. Keep working on your game. Buckets and breakdowns. Coach Thomas Scott, and we out.